Humphrey Bogart, born on December 25, 1899, in New York City, came from a family that offered him a privileged upbringing. His father, Belmont DeForest Bogart, was a respected heart surgeon, and his mother, Maud Humphrey, was a prominent illustrator and suffragette. Raised in an affluent environment, Bogart was expected to pursue a more traditional, professional career, perhaps in law or medicine. However, his path diverged after he served in the US Navy during World War I, where he reportedly developed the scar on his lip that contributed to his iconic lisp. Following the war, he discovered a passion for acting, starting in theatre in the 1920s before transitioning to Hollywood in the 1930s. Though his early acting roles were minor, they laid the foundation for the disciplined and captivating actor he would later become. From Broadway to Hollywood. In the 1920s, Bogart worked on Broadway, initially in minor roles. His time in theatre honed his acting skills, but it was not until he moved to Hollywood in the 1930s that his career began to gain traction. Early on, he was often cast as villains or gangsters, a typecasting that limited his potential. Despite this, Bogart's rugged demeanor and ability to convey depth and intensity in his performances made him stand out. It wasn't until his role as the ruthless Duke Manty in The Petrified Forest, 1936, that he began to receive attention. While he continued to play tough characters, it was his emotional complexity that ultimately allowed him to transcend the stereotypical roles of the time, earning him a place among Hollywood's finest actors. Rise to stardom, The Maltese Falcon, and Casablanca. Bogart's breakthrough came with his portrayal of Sam Spade in The Maltese Falcon, 1941, directed by John Huston. The film was a landmark in the film noir genre and set the tone for many of the tough, morally ambiguous characters Bogart would go on to portray. Spade's cynicism and stoic demeanor resonated with audiences, and his performance helped solidify the archetype of the American anti-hero. His role as Rick Blaine in Casablanca, 1942, further cemented his status as one of Hollywood's greatest stars. As Rick, a nightclub owner, caught between love and duty during World War II, Bogart showcased a vulnerable side that audiences had not yet seen. His performance in Casablanca earned him an Academy Award nomination and made the film an enduring classic. The beginning of a Hollywood romance, Lauren Bacall. In 1944, Bogart starred opposite the young Lauren Bacall in To Have and Have Not. Their chemistry, both on and off screen, was undeniable, and their partnership blossomed into one of Hollywood's most famous romances. Despite a 25-year age gap, they married in 1945, and their relationship was marked by mutual respect and affection. Bogart and Bacall starred together in several films, including The Big Sleep, 1946, Dark Passage, 1947, and Key Largo, 1948. Their personal and professional lives were intertwined, and their partnership helped humanize the often tough and detached image that Bogart projected in his films. They had 2 children together, a son, Stephen, and a daughter, Leslie, and Bogart embraced fatherhood with a tenderness that contrasted sharply with his on-screen persona. A complex, personal life. Throughout his life, Bogart was married 4 times. His first marriage was to actress Helen Mine in 1926, but it ended in divorce just over a year later. His second marriage to actress Mary Phillips in 1928 lasted a decade, but ended in 1938 due to the strain of their divergent careers. Bogart's third marriage, to actress Mayo Method, which began in 1938, was marked by volatility. Their relationship was tumultuous, with public arguments and infidelity allegations. Known as the Battling Bogarts, the couple's constant fighting eventually led to their divorce in 1945. Bogart's fourth and final marriage, to Lauren Bacall, however, proved to be the one that brought him lasting happiness. Their love was genuine and built on a foundation of mutual admiration, which allowed them to weather the challenges of both personal and professional life together. Struggles with alcoholism and personal demons. Behind the scenes, Bogart struggled with alcoholism, a battle that would define much of his private life. His heavy drinking was often romanticized by the media, but it took a toll on his relationships and his career. Friends and co-stars recalled episodes of erratic behavior, mood swings, and deep bouts of depression, especially during his drinking binges. He was known to arrive on set drunk or hungover, which led to tension with directors and studio heads. Bogart used alcohol as a coping mechanism for personal insecurities and the pressures of fame, but his drinking sometimes resulted in lost opportunities and strained relationships. His volatile personality and tendency to engage in public confrontations further complicated his personal life, and he struggled to find emotional stability throughout his relationships. The Battling Bogarts and Tumultuous Relationships. Bogart's tumultuous relationships were not confined to his marriages, but extended to his friendships and professional interactions as well. His third marriage, to Mayo Method, was particularly notorious for its volatility. Their fights were infamous in Hollywood, and their constant public brawls earned them the nickname the Battling Bogarts. Method, also struggling with alcoholism, exacerbated the tensions in their marriage, leading to frequent emotional meltdowns and even physical altercations. Though their relationship was filled with passion, it was ultimately destructive, and the couple parted ways in 1945. Bogart's subsequent marriage to Lauren Bacall brought stability, but even their union started amid controversy, as Bogart was still married when their affair began. Despite these rocky beginnings, their relationship remained strong until Bogart's death. Emotional distance and the mask of humour. Despite his close-knit circle of friends, Bogart was known for his emotional distance. He often deflected vulnerability with biting sarcasm and a sharp wit. Even in his personal life, he could be difficult to reach emotionally, which strained his relationships with those closest to him. His son, Stephen, later spoke of his father's complex emotional life, noting that while Bogart was loving and devoted, he could also be frustratingly remote. Bogart's inability to express his emotions off-screen contrasted sharply with the depth of feeling he was able to convey in his performances. This emotional reserve created a divide between the public's perception of him as a hardened, tough guy and the more complicated, emotionally scarred man he was in private. Bogart's political struggles and self-doubt. Bogart's involvement in political activism further illustrated his inner conflict. Initially an outspoken critic of McCarthyism, he participated in protests against the House Un-American Activities Committee, HUAC, in 1947. However, under pressure from the government and the Hollywood establishment, Bogart later distanced himself from the cause, stating that he had been duped into participating. This reversal disappointed many of his peers and revealed a man torn between his principles and his desire for self-preservation. His shifting stance on political issues highlighted the insecurities and vulnerabilities that often overshadowed his public image as a tough, confident actor. This episode in his life revealed a man who, despite his bravado, was susceptible to fear and doubt, early trauma, and its long-lasting effects. Bogart's troubled childhood contributed to many of his personal struggles. Raised in a wealthy but emotionally distant family, he had a strained relationship with his father, who was a morphine addict, and his mother, a successful but critical illustrator. This emotionally cold household likely influenced his later difficulties with intimacy and trust. The trauma of his early years manifested in his adult relationships, where he struggled to connect emotionally and frequently resorted to sarcasm and self-destructive habits. The bitterness, cynicism, and emotional armor that defined his on-screen persona were deeply rooted in the pain and isolation he experienced as a child. This personal history provided the foundation for many of the darker aspects of his character. Legacy of Humphrey Bogart. Despite the darker side of his life, it is crucial not to reduce Humphrey Bogart to just his flaws. Like many great artists, he was a man of contradictions. He could be fiercely loyal, generous, and deeply humorous. His friendships were long-lasting, and he was beloved by his co-stars, especially in his later years. Bogart's complex persona, marked by personal demons, hard-edged charisma, and moments of genuine warmth, was precisely what made him such a compelling actor. His ability to channel these contradictions into his performances made him one of the most memorable and influential figures in film history. Bogart's legacy endures, not only through the iconic roles he played, but also through the raw human complexity he brought to every character he portrayed. The end of an era, death, and final days. Humphrey Bogart's life was tragically cut short when he died from esophageal cancer on January 14, 1957, at the age of 57. His final years were marked by a long battle with the illness, during which his wife, Lauren Bacall, stood by his side. Despite the pain of his declining health, Bacall remained devoted to him, and the two shared a bond that had withstood the challenges of fame, personal demons, and public scrutiny. After his death, Bacall often spoke of him with deep affection and respect, a testament to the lasting impact of their relationship. Bogart's passing marked the end of an era in Hollywood, but his legacy as one of the greatest actors of all time lives on through his unforgettable roles and the complex man behind them.